Hello, everyone, and today my guest is Tony Lee. Hello, Tony. How are you?
I'm great, Jim. How are you?
Tell everyone your job title and where you work and the kind of things that you do, if you would.
Well, I'm a publisher of CareerCast.com and JobsRated.com, and I'm also an executive at Adizio. And Adizio powers job boards for over 1,000 different media company sites around the world. And CareerCast.com and JobsRated.com are consumer sites that we have created a couple of years ago, where we send all of the traffic and all of the leads off to our client sites. We also come out with an annual report on the best and worst jobs, which we've been doing for many years now.
Yes, that report caught my eye, and I had to reach out to you guys. Tell me, what is the best job to have these days?
Well, we do a very in-depth research study every year, and we look at a bunch of methodology, literally hundreds of different points, and we come down to 5 kind of overall criteria. The environment, meaning like the work environment, the income level, the outlook for both hiring and, keeping your job, the levels of stress, and whether or not there are a lot of physical demands. And using all of those requirements, the best job this year is software engineer.
What do you think attributes to that? All of the new iPhones and things like that?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, software engineer has always been a highly rated job, but it rose to the top this year because demand just keeps going crazy, with the technological revolution that's going on. And you're right, with all the applications being created for tablets and iPhones and smartphones, they need more software engineers than ever before. So not only is hiring good and pay good, but software engineers are pretty much calling their own shots as to how many hours they work and what they work on.
What does your report say about the worst job that's out there?
Yeah, sadly the worst job is a roustabout, which is basically the lowest level person working on an oil rig. These are the folks who, kind of clean up after everybody else. It's the entry-level job. It's dirty. You're outside doing it, whether it's 20 below or 120 above. Pays pretty bad, and frankly, it's dangerous. As we all remember from the Gulf disaster last year, a number of roustabouts were killed. So, it's not a very great job in any respect.
Now, how long have you been producing this report?
We've been doing this report now for about a dozen years, and we have a team of researchers that pull the data together every year and update it. And typically there's not a big change year to year because of the statistics, but the recession did have an impact, from last year to this year, and did affect some of the rankings.
I imagine that over the years the economy has gone up and down and that type of thing. Are there certain jobs that consistently seem to stay in your top 10 or top 20?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think one of the things that this study shows, which, you hear all the time, but it really comes out in the numbers here, is that the value of a college degree, an advanced degree, is so important. You'll see that the top 10, frankly, even the top 20 or 30 jobs all require a college degree. And if you look at the bottom 10, really none of them do. So, you can see that the value of education is you're going to end up with a job that, pays better, has a better outlook, and you're probably going to be happier when.
Now, I know there are some listening who may say, I don't have a college degree and I don't have a budget for that kind of thing. What are some high-paying jobs that you may notice on your list that might not require a college degree?
Well, I wouldn't say high-paying. I mean, they're pay okay. And remember, it's all relevant. Some people are in a low-ranked job and love it. I mean, lumberjack always ends up at the bottom of our list, and yet last year I got a call from a lumberjack who said, I love my job. I've been doing it for 30 years. I wouldn't do anything differently. Of course, when we talked more, he admitted that he had broken his collarbone, broken his leg twice, and lost a finger over those 20 years. But it was all just part of the job. So, everybody's got their own cup of tea, right?
Wow, so true. And I think I even saw on television the other day a TV show, a reality show around lumberjacks or something like that.
Yeah, the Axemen, I think. There's a number of them. Another job that ends up toward the bottom but is loved is commercial fishermen. If you ever saw The Perfect Storm, you saw, they were willing to go out and fish in any kind of weather because they loved it so much, yet it always ends up toward the bottom of the rankings. Another one that's toward the bottom that seems to surprise people is taxi driver. A lot of people think of taxi drivers having a lot of freedom. You jump in the car, you go earn some money, and then you go knock off. But Unfortunately, that's just not the case. It's the number one ranked job in terms of being a victim of crime. Taxi drivers often are robbed and sadly killed. And it also does not have a lot of flexibility. Taxi drivers tend to work for taxi companies, and often on a rigid schedule. I mean, they're told exactly when they can stop for a break. So it's not as easygoing as some people think.
One more question for you. I was discussing your list with a friend of mine, and one thing we noticed from your list or just lists like others, the word recruiter doesn't seem to come up anywhere on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever noticed recruiting being in the top or towards the bottom, or where do you typically see it?
Yeah, we don't. We rank 200 jobs, so and there are thousands of jobs. I think the closest we come is HR executive, HR manager, which ranks in the middle. And it tends to do well because it's in a good environment. You're working in an office. It tends to be fairly stable. You're working normal hours. You're not typically working weekends or nights, although I know a lot of HR people do. But it also doesn't rank all that high, at the top because the stress level tends to be very high. The job outlook, has been kind of spotty, especially the last couple of years. There's been a lot of turnover in the HR profession. Salary is good, not great, but good. So that's why it kind of falls somewhere in the middle. What I would encourage, anyone listening to do is if you go to the site, careercast.com or jobsrated.com, all of the information is there in great detail. It's all free with all the methodology as to how we got the rankings. And what's cool is then if you click on any one of the jobs, we'll actually show you all the job openings for that position that are available right now. So it's a very cool tool. I think you'd find it very interesting.
Tony Lee of CareerCast and a DCO, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jim.